The Overwatch beta is finally here, and I've managed to get my hands on experiencing the new Zarya and how she's reworked and how she feels in the 5v5 experience, having only one tank. I'll just preface this video by saying that Blizzard has knocked the ball out of the park. Zarya feels great. If you have any worries about if she's viable or not, then just wash them away. Wash them away. Sit back, listen, let me answer those. Let me tell you why you're wrong on those. And let me tell you why it's so great, why they've done such a good job. I think most importantly, going from a massive shift of 2 tanks to 1 is that you want to make sure that your hero, Zarya, in this case, my hero, maybe your hero, right, remains consistent with what made her fun in Overwatch 1 and take that to Overwatch 2 while not killing the hero or making her too broken. And what they've done is they've taken her identity of this big snowball hero where you get high charge, you sustain it, you get a game-winning ult, you do damage, and you're squishy at the same time, and given us that experience in Overwatch 2 again. While at the same time eliminating great issues such as relying on other tanks, which I absolutely hated, and giving the player more control and power in achieving this status and achieving this goal of getting a high charge. Basically, Blizzard reworked the bubble system where they were constricted to 1 bubble each and have removed that, and they made it so that the bubbles now have charges and you can use 1 charge for either a self or a friendly, meaning that you can have 2 self bubbles and 2 friendly bubbles. And so this gives that control and flexibility into the defensive nature of what she does as a tank, as well as the offensive nature as what she does as a tank. And this is game-changing. It's truly game-changing. When I first heard it, I was like, meh, could be good, sounds good, whatever. Nah. And let me tell you, the feeling you get when you self-bubble, and then you self-bubble again, and you see that 80 charges is akin to the feeling of what it felt like back in Season 1 and 2, when the enemy Ryan fire strikes, and you line up with your Reinhardt, and bubbles used to give 50 charge, and a fire strike would give 50 charge, you'd instantly get 100 charge. It was one of the most satisfying feelings. I mean, everybody that played back then and played Zarya knows about it. It's beautiful, and it's kind of back, except this time, rip Ryan Zarya, it's you. You're using 2 self bubbles, and you're trying to achieve the same thing. And I think that's really speaks towards the nature of Overwatch, of this self 1 tank, right? Again, it just plays within into itself. They really have created that formula. And that extra HP that they've given allows for her to be not this paper-thin, squishy tank anymore. On top of the bubbles, of course, you have to look at them as effective HP. But that extra HP definitely gives her the survivability that she needs when the whole team's looking at her, or she has to cross open space or absorb a lot of damage while trying to stay alive. So essentially, they've created this formula for everyone to enjoy while eliminating the need of another tank and giving the control back to the player while retaining the fundamentals of her skill, decision-making, her positioning, all the game knowledge, the mechanics, and they still have the same weaknesses that she had before. So whatever composition you try to put her into and wherever you try to fit her into, she'll still do her thing, and she'll still get outclassed by other tanks in other ways. And that's really good. It's important for Zarya to not just be this, I pick her and I'm going to carry every single game, and every comp pro play games just pick Zarya and dominate. No, she's going to fit into her own mold. She can be a pop stomper, a solo carrier. I mean, it really feels insane. The fact is, the change of the self bubble instantly ticking down as soon, or any bubble ticking, like recharging as soon as you use it, is absolutely crazy. And let me tell you why. Essentially, when you're full charges, you get triple bubble at the beginning of the game, because as soon as you use your bubble, it's going to start recharging. So you use 1, a little bit of time, you use your second, and then by the time that one ends or is broken, it's like 4 seconds away, and then you get another bubble. Oh my god. Oh my, it's like we get the joy of the Ryan Fire Strike, and now we get the joy of having 3 bubbles to charge ourselves up. That gives so much flexibility. That's a 33% increase, essentially. Well, I mean, before it was only 1, so that's actually a much greater increase, but considering the context of Overwatch 2, right? My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. All right, now let me tell a little bit about the nerf that they gave her. All right, quote unquote nerf. This is a nerf. They made it so that her charge drains more quickly. Now, to me, makes a lot of sense from what I've experienced so far. I agree with that. I think it's good. I want to look at this from the context of Overwatch 1, where they did this change to her a while ago. And it was a massive change. Like, we massively felt that on live. You will still feel that, where if you mess up your bubbles or you go flank or play slow and don't keep that snowball up, your charge is going to be gone instantly. And I hated this change because it pigeonholed the hero into this sort of linear playstyle that you have to be with your team, and you can't flank, and you can't abuse the map, and you can't get creative. You just have to constantly look for charge, and if you don't get charge, it feels awful because it goes too far down, it drains too quickly, and it just feels awful. But let me tell you, in Overwatch 2, it does not feel like that. Yes, of course, if you don't get charge, that's on you not getting charge, and it feels bad, but that's, again, Zarya's identity at its core. But it is needed for the amount of influx of charge that she gets. Now, that reminds me, let's just talk a little bit about what she can now do in Overwatch 2. Even with the higher drain rate, you now have 2 bubbles to outplay, you have 2 bubbles to flank with, you have 80 charge instead of 40, and you sort of get that freedom and joy that Overwatch is of playing the map, outplaying people, doing silly things, or silly that are clever. So they not only give us a good Zarya now, they also gave us old Zarya, what I used to do on her, right? This little flanks and free. Oh my god, I can't. This is amazing. It's truly amazing. Now I want to discuss a little bit the artificial reasonings that I think she is going to be even better than she should be. And that is because there's less shields, meaning people without good positioning or natural cover or defaulting will be heavily abused. You could already hard carry with 1 self bubble. Now you can do it with 2, technically. The cooldowns are still quite long, but it's technically depends on how hard you're snowballing. And because of these lack of fundamentals, new maps, people learning new heroes or experimenting a little bit, Zarya is great at that. She's a pup thumper. She's great at like abusing the fact that people aren't good enough yet to abuse her weaknesses, which is her inability to match high grounds or rotations quickly, or to get outranged effectively. So what I would say is this is exploited by higher players, but not so much the low elo players. So enjoy it while it's good, but keep that in mind. I'll give you another example. Because in Overwatch 1, when Zarya uses her self bubble, what happens after you use that? You're squishy. Shoot her. Everybody shoots her. So it's really funny that right now at the beginning of the beta, I use my self bubble, and I know what's about to happen. Everybody's gonna shoot me because they think that I don't have it anymore. Like, there's these things that people obviously get used to over time, but they're very exploitative, and that's just a great example of something's easy to understand, but these advantages will go away, right? And they're there throughout the game. But listen, that's not the reason she's good, but that is definitely a fun aspect of it. It's still that she's got a good kit, she's well designed, but don't get too jumpy on her. There are still negatives. Well, guess what? You can't protect by killing the flankers. You can't protect by creating space in your front line. If you have 0 charge, you're still going to do 0 damage. You're still going to be useless. It's so true in Overwatch 1, but also for Overwatch 2. She still struggles with matching enemy main tanks who have way more resources to take space immediately. Can't control space as well or have good resources. Obviously, long sightlines, enemy DPS pop off. It is what it is. It's going to happen. Long range DPS. She cannot go to a high ground straight away. So if you're playing push, for example, if you're on low ground and you're matching an enemy Zarya, well, I mean, you're not going to kill her because she's really good at holding space and holding a zone with her 2 bubbles. She's this little fortress, right? The fortress can be broken by being rushed down or outranged, but not by this like standoff sort of slow burn. That's where Zarya really shines as a hero. Or if she's the one rushing, she also shines. And then it's going to be the enemy DPS will take the off angles and the high grounds and go around. You can't really do much about it, and it doesn't feel too good. Which is needed, I think, because there's so many things to feel good about with her. She needs weaknesses so that later down the line when they're being abused, we can figure out, well, maybe we shouldn't be touching the cart here. And we should, listen, that's all for the future. I'm going to enjoy that, right? Figuring out all the answers to her weaknesses. That's the goal, right? As players, we want to be able to see what our weaknesses are and then outplay them, find answers. That's how you become the great. So yeah, there are definitely weaknesses to her. Of course, if you were forced for some reason to use your friendly bubbles on other players in a position where you're playing aggressive because of your 2 self bubbles, for example, you're going to be caught out of guard. You're going to have healers, you're going to get caught off. Like, there's a lot of ways she can die, really. Overall, though, The changes are great. I love her. I can't wait to play her, to learn the new timings, to hit zero man grabs, to play the maps, just to load into every game, knowing that I can consistently perform on the hero because of myself and not be limited by other players' inability to understand charge timings, angles, all the beautiful things that I've taught, we've learned together in Overwatch 1. Of course, they still apply to Overwatch 2, except they apply even more now for everyone. So I hope you love Zarya as much as I do. I hope you're going to enjoy Overwatch 2. And I cannot wait to get into the nitty-gritty detail of exploring this all together. I will be making a Zarya guide with what I know so far, where I'm going to really drill those fundamentals into you so that you can stomp and carry as hard as I do in my games. All right? You know where to find me on my Twitch. Much love, everyone. Thank you for listening to my rant. I'm not really good at organizing my thoughts. So, much love. Enjoy the beta.